Okay, I think we're ready to start. Welcome everybody to the ARPA Day Committee meeting for Monday, January 23rd, 2023. I think that's the first time I said that this year. The rules of a public meeting. The meeting of the ARPA Day Transformational Committee are public meetings as defined by the Connecticut Freedom of Information Act and should follow these guidelines. As this public meeting is held virtually, it will be recorded and made available to view on the DDS website. Committee members must make a good faith effort to state their name and title, if applicable, each time they speak during the meeting. If a committee member would like to speak, please raise your hand and one of the co-chairs will acknowledge you. There is no public comment portion to this meeting. Members of the public are able to join, watch, and listen only. Okay. Minutes from the 12/5/2022 meeting. Are there any additions to those minutes? Could I have someone make a motion to approve the minutes of 12/5?
This is Cynthia D. Louise, DDS. Make that motion to approve.
Amber Carter, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody. Next, we have Deloitte and the transformation plan implementation. We have Julia and Betsy. Betsy, I'm not sure if you've been on with this committee yet. Have you?
You know, I don't think I've had, this is Betsy Bella of Deloitte. I don't think I've had the pleasure.
All right. Do you want to just introduce yourself and let them know who you are, and then we'll let you take it away?
Sure thing. I'm Betsy Bella of Deloitte. I'm the project manager for our support to DDS with the moving on efforts. So we've been doing a lot behind the scenes as we gather stakeholder input and do research and prepare for the next phase of our work. Julia is going to give an update on our stakeholder engagement so far. Oh, I'm sorry. I always leave out of my introduction. I've got over a decade of consulting work in government consulting focused on long-term services and supports, and have some family connections to the IDD world as well. All right, now I'll hand it over to Julia.
This is Julia Oak with Deloitte, and so nice to see everyone. I feel like we're just chatting with you guys the other week. So as Betsy mentioned, we're going to give some updates on our activity, and we'll also be focusing our update on sort of bringing everyone sort of up to speed on what we've heard in the stakeholder input sessions we were hosting over the past couple of weeks, and can answer any questions. So as Betsy mentioned, we have been in the thick of our stakeholder engagement, still gathering stakeholder input and feedback to really inform what we'll propose to DDS for the design phase of moving on. So before the holidays and finishing up now, we've been doing research to kind of get a sense for the current state of services and supports in Connecticut, as well as a couple other comparison states. And we really took some of our findings there and wanted to kind of pressure test them and get feedback from stakeholders in Connecticut. So, and I know some of you all were able to join those sessions because I see some familiar names, but we held 6 input sessions, 2 sessions for providers, one for providers day services, one for providers residential services, hosted 2 sessions for individuals and families. Again, one's focused on day services, one focused on residential. And then we also met with the self-advocate coordinators, as well as DDS case managers and staff. And given the group today, I'll focus on some of what we heard in the day services sessions, but happy to answer other questions as we go. So I think overall, a lot of what we heard in the sessions wasn't a huge surprise. Big kind of themes across the board was challenges with staffing and transportation and sort of how that can impact sort of services and also how that could impact moving on. So I think that was a big piece sort of across the board. I think particular to the provider day session, additional sort of key themes that we highlighted in addition to staffing and transportation, talked a lot about the transition process when individuals finish school and when they turn 22 are eligible to transition into an adult day program. A lot of, some of the challenges for making that transition from communication, the school, kind of getting everyone setting expectations, sort of the importance of being able to get involved early. So, a staff person isn't getting someone the day after their 22nd birthday and is then kind of put in a tough spot to provide supports with such short notice. So I think that was a really big theme. And then along with that, sort of working with families ahead of time to kind of set expectations for what the day program might look like, how that might be similar or different than what their loved one might be used to in school, for example, just so everyone's on the same board, on the same page when the individual is eligible to transition. The other sort of important theme that again came up across all sessions was just the importance of individualization and the importance of flexibility. So everyone's different, everyone's has different needs, and those needs can change over time. And sort of the importance of ensuring that moving on is flexible enough that people can get their needs met in a way that's not too burdensome on an administrative side. Those were the big highlights. I think sort of one neat idea we heard in one of the providers is they have an employment club. So a way for people to, if they're interested in having a job, but don't, kind of want to talk to a peer, to be able to learn from a peer, but also if there's two individuals that have jobs, can kind of, compare notes, of the different jobs. So I'll pause there before I go into some of the highlights from the individual and family session.
This is Keith Lavalette. Jennifer, you have a question?
I do. I guess, were you talking specifically, this is Jennifer Keatley with UCP Eastern Connecticut. Were you talking specifically about the provider sessions or with just the provider sessions? Okay, I just wasn't clear on that. Thank you for clarifying. And can you tell me how well attended the provider sessions were?
Yep, so we had good attendance. We worked with the Alliance and I'm blanking on Julia Wilcox and Wynn Everts. I'm blanking on the organizations, but we worked with them to identify a good mix of providers across the regions and also different types of agencies. So for the provider sessions, we had right around 20 providers attending, which is the size that we were going for, just so we could make sure the sessions were engaging and we didn't have too large of a group for good discussion.
Thank you.
This is Betsy Bell at Deloitte. It was the Alliance and the ARPA of Connecticut,
Yes,
just for the minutes.
Thank you. And this is Julia Oak with Deloitte. Can just move on briefly to some of the themes from the individual and family sessions. As I mentioned with the providers, a lot of the themes we heard weren't a big surprise and carried similar themes, across. I think specific to the individual and family session, individualization was a key piece. And I think also another big theme that stood out was, options for people that may not want to work, that may have higher support needs where, remote supports at a job may not be realistic, and making sure that those people have choices. And sort of connected to that is the importance of social connection. So this was a big theme in terms of some of the loved ones of the people that were on the call. Their favorite part of their day is when they get to see their friends or do a fun activity, and not losing sight of that when we're thinking about how can we provide day services and employment supports, is really the social and fun aspect of the day for folks. And then the other piece to highlight, I think transportation also came up in that session, just again, in terms of different areas in Connecticut, and just can be a whole nother level of complexity, as you all know, in addition to finding a support and job that is meets someone's needs and is in line with their passions and interests. And then oh, go ahead, Keith. You're gonna speak.
No, I'll wait. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Julia Oak from Deloitte. The last thing to kind of highlight is we had some folks on the line that were involved with micro businesses of individuals in the state. So we got to hear a lot from one of the parents in terms of some of the micro businesses she's working on with her loved one, but also other individuals in her area as well. And a focus for her when she's doing those is, again, getting the person involved in the community. So not just finding a job or a type of thing that the person likes to do, but also finding ways to connect them with other businesses in the area and really loop them into the community, so they have that tie and sort of that connection in their local communities as well. And that sums up the kind of major things for us. So I'm happy to take any additional questions.
Keith Lavalette, DDS. Jennifer?
Hi, Jennifer Keatley, UCP, Eastern Connecticut. I'm curious how many individuals participated and how many guardians or family members participated.
Yeah, so we had higher registration of families. So for the individual and family session for day services, we had 4 individuals register. I think only 1 or 2 of those folks ended up joining. So the majority was families and guardians. And the total turnout of the session, we had, I think, around 12 individuals and families. So a little bit smaller group, but that was the general makeup. And this is Julia Oak from Deloitte. Sorry.
And this is Betsy Bell at Deloitte, and just tagging on to that, we had actually approved extra registrations, anticipating few people coming, and we approved every registration from an individual who receives services and supports. We did also speak with the self-advocate coordinator committee to make sure that we were hearing some voices directly from, not just from families. Although, of course, the viewpoints of families, public meeting, the viewpoints of families are so important as well. We just want to make sure that we're hearing both groups.
This is Keith Lavalette, DDS. I'm just wondering, with this committee, we have a group of providers and case managers. Is anybody hearing anything out there on the phase 1? Are you hearing from families at all, or anything coming into any of the providers, or even to the DDS staff? Beth?
Beth Fisher from CUNE. I'm not hearing a thing. In fact, we had a staff meeting on Friday, and I asked the staff if they're hearing anything about it other than from me, and nothing. Nobody's hearing a thing about it. So I did think that was interesting.
Okay. Cynthia, could I pick on you for a minute? Are you hearing anything out there on the case manager side?
Sure. This is Cynthia DeLuise, DDS. Actually, we're beginning to look at people individually and make contact and making sure that the case managers really understand what this entails. And so that's why I've had my staff beginning to reach out to some of you and to Trevor to make certain that we're communicating the correct information to families. So that's what I'm doing on my team. And we do have people who are actually in customized employment. So some of my case managers actually do have some folks. So they've been people who have been involved in employment for a while. I think what we need to start looking at are new people as well, and how to make certain that they are understanding what's available to them. And that might be something that we should talk about internally a little bit more. But I see all of you as a resource for us. And so don't be surprised to get a phone call so that we can get better educated, specifically to make sure where the openings are too. That's something I don't think we all know. And that would be helpful information. I would love at a staff meeting to be able to say to folks, hey, did you know CUNY has this number, or, you know, that kind of a thing. There's openings everywhere. So that would be helpful.
Thank you, Keith Level at DDS. Catherine?
This is Catherine Dupree, co-chair. We are also not hearing anything from our families or individuals, and I did check after just today to give it some time after last meeting that we had about communications, and it does not appear that the survey went to individuals. It appears it only went to guardians.
Keith Level at DDS. It went out to 9,200 people. If a individual was their own guardian, it went to them. And otherwise, it had to go to the guardian.
So this is Catherine again. I would question why it couldn't go to both individuals and their guardians, even if people aren't their own guardians.
My understanding is we would have needed to get the guardian approval to get it to go to the guardian, to the individual.
And why would that be? Other questions are asked directly of individuals.
I don't know. I don't know how, if anybody on the call knows any more than I do on that. It was just what I was told, that they needed to get the guardian's approval.
This is Catherine Dupree again. There's so many aspects of people's lives that guardians don't have control over, and that really makes no sense. I would love to have that checked out legally and our committee given an answer about that.
All right. I'll look into that and check.
Thank you.
Betsy, did you have more to, oh, I'm sorry, Jennifer. You're on mute, Jennifer.
Sorry about that. Jennifer from UCP Eastern Connecticut. We also checked with our case managers and our employment support specialists, our day program staff members, and no one has heard or gotten any feedback from families or individuals about this moving forward program. So I'm concerned that they didn't get the information. 9,200 people contacted and only 12 attendees is concerning to me. I would think they'd be very interested in some opportunities for their individuals.
Thank you, Jennifer. Betsy?
It looks like, this is Betsy Deloitte. It looks like Amber has something to say.
Okay, Amber, go ahead.
Hi, hi, thank you, Keith. I just have a question. Seems that the distribution of the survey and the information, there's a lot of questions around the method and mode, and the appropriate individuals, or just considering the individuals as part of the process. Has it been considered to hold a forum similar to what we have for other platforms that would invite, where parents, guardians, individuals can sit in and hear and get the information live, and as it's being, because for many it's sometimes getting questionnaires or surveys, that's a barrier within itself to a certain extent. And if we're going to move forward, moving ahead, and we learn from the learning curve of some of our past attempts, maybe it just behooves to have some type of forum that's very, simplified and straight to the point, and gets to the crux of what is trying to be accomplished. It's just my thought and suggestion around enlisting and garnering and really getting some real true feedback from those that we're hoping to have a positive impact on as we prepare.
This is Keith Lavalette, DDS. Deloitte had their feedback session with the individual and family. It wasn't well attended, but there is also, I believe, a DDS forum that went out to individuals and families. that's being held in the next week or two, and I'm not sure of the exact date. So that's another meeting that will be being held, and I think there are others planned, but I'm not sure the dates as yet.
I believe that is a self-directed forum, and there will be, again, different, if you will, individuals participating in that, basically simply because it's, geared towards those who utilize self-direction. But okay, if there's been forums and it wasn't well attended, I mean, one go round, maybe, it's not necessarily the forum. It might just be another way of enlisting or getting people to be interested, because they are being inundated right now with a lot of information. And it just may behoove us just to think about another way to really get our parents and our guardians and the individuals looped in all of this. Just some thoughts.
Thank you, Amber. Jennifer, your hand is raised again.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer, UCP, Eastern Connecticut. It's less than half of 1% of all the people invited attended. I think that's significant that we're not reaching people, whether it's the individuals or the guardians, either way, or that this is not something that they're interested in. It's one or the other. And I'm concerned that in either way, we're putting a lot of time and effort into this, and the stakeholders should really be involved, and not just the providers. We're here, we're participating, we're willing. 20 providers attended, but the individuals are the ones that are impacted, and I think we need to hear from them, whether it's this forum, as Amber suggested, or another method, or continue to try to reach out.
This is Betsy Bella from Deloitte. Thank you for your passion, Jennifer. It's so important. I do just want to flag that the 9,000 number was how many surveys went out, which was in coordination with the communications consulting team, and is separate from the input forum outreach. Just because of the timeline, we couldn't do them together, which was too bad, right? We were like, oh, wouldn't that be great if we could invite everyone through that mailing? The outreach for the input sessions went out through DDS social media. It went out, we, encouraged some partners to share. And we did have full registrations, just unfortunately, things come up in people's days, right? And they're in the middle of the workday. And there were actually 2 individuals and family sessions. And so between the 2 sessions, it's a little bit, but we're with you too. We wish we'd had full sessions for both. And the last I heard on the surveys, they'd received back about 350 and counting, which is, when you compare it to the large number, it seems small, but for survey response rate is not terrible.
Thank you for clarifying.
No worries.
Keith Lavalette, DDS. Variant, you have a question?
Variant Salters, self-advocate coordinator, DDS in the North region. I just wanted to, that I agree with Jennifer that we need to reach more people.
All right, thank you, Varian. Keith Lavalette, DDS. Cynthia.
Thank you. This is Cynthia DeLuise, South Region DDS. One of the things that I know, at least I represent self-direction, and there's a few thousand people who do participate in self-direction. I can't speak on behalf of agencies, but I do know that there's been such a difficult time, and this as agencies, getting staff, that I think the priorities for some of the families are focused on that. I mean, they can't even keep things covered in their homes. And if anything, we're looking more to agencies for assistance and support. So I just have to say, I think that is one of the reasons, honestly, that families are so focused on just being able to maintain their home base, so to speak, just for what it's worth.
Keith Lavalette, DDS. Thank you, Cynthia. Catherine.
Betsy, did you say that the meetings were held during work hours? for which families and individuals were invited?
This is Betsy Bella Deloitte. Yes, they were.
This is Catherine Dupree again. I would recommend that you offer evening sessions. I think it's difficult for families to participate during the daytime.
Betsy Bella Deloitte, thank you for that feedback.
Keith Lavalette, DDS. Betsy, did you have more to present?
Betsy Bella Deloitte, yes. So an update on some of the other elements. So the input we received and other input that we're able to collect in the coming time will then inform the phase 2 of the moving on. You know, what can people hear me okay? I'll lean in closer to
Thank
help inform the next stages for the moving on plan in coordination with DDS, of course, right? We're providing information, they're the decision makers. The phase 1 is in progress. The providers who were interested, there were a total of 25 providers responded that they were interested in submitting a plan as part of this initial phase. This includes representation across all of the regions, with 10 from the North region, 12 from the South, and 3 brave providers in the West region, making sure that West doesn't go unrepresented. Across the regions, this then also means there are providers interested in transitions in day supports, transitions in residential supports, and a few across both. Most providers are thinking of changing just a couple of programs rather than an overhaul, which makes a lot of sense, especially for this first phase. So regions are providing support. Deloitte is also available for technical assistance, although no providers have taken advantage of it yet, but we're going to be pushing out more information about that to sort of encourage people. We are going to be joining a call with folks in the South region, which we're really excited about. And so that's what's happening with phase 1. Phase 2 this spring, there will be an updated transition plan template, as well as trainings, materials, guidance. You know, I think we're going to continue to have lessons learned about how can we make sure that everyone's aware of and involved with this. We're working closely with the DDS communications consulting team as well, so that all stakeholders can hear. You know, we remain committed to providing the best support we can and that includes making sure that all the stakeholders have an opportunity to know about moving on and be involved as appropriate. Any questions about those elements? Or Julia, anything you'd like to add?
Keith Lavalette, DDS. Beth?
Yeah, Beth Fisher, CUNY Employment Opportunities. I'm trying to pull up this template as we're talking, and I'm not going to get to it. But I guess one of the things, and maybe this is not the right place for the question, maybe it's more of a technical assistance, but I guess I'm wondering why this is, you know, if you read the template, it looks as though you're going to have to eliminate a program or you're going to have to restructure your whole agency. And for us, it's not that at all. I mean, we're already doing this work. And so, I mean, I'm really struggling when I look at, you know, what it is that you're looking for in this template. So just, can you speak to the thought behind kind of framing it and structuring it this way?
Betsy Bella Deloitte, thank you for that feedback, Beth. Would love to have time to connect and continue that, because we want to make sure that when the template that we're hoping, or that DDS is hoping that most providers will at least make a plan for some changes to use, we want it to be friendly, accessible. A lot of how the template was designed has to do with wanting it to be something that would be easy and consistent for review while still allowing for adequate flexibility. Interesting to hear that it reads as if you have to eliminate programs within it. That was not an intent. So, you know, that's clearly something that needs to be fixed. And I appreciate you pointing that out. It did go through, it was shared with the ARPA Advisory Committee for feedback from them. There are some providers on that committee. We didn't receive a lot of feedback from them. It was also shared with regional staff. And so we did have various eyes and input on it. But of course, until you actually get on the ground and people are using it, you miss a lot, right? And so that's part of why we're really excited to have the phase 1 and the phase 2 for the learning opportunities to be able to make improvements to the templates so that when people open it up in phase 2, they don't have those kinds of questions. So thank you very much.
Beth Fisher from CUNY, I appreciate that. If your South Region meeting that you're going to be participating in is tomorrow, I can certainly talk more about that then.
This is Betsy Bella Deloitte. It's a Thursday. You're the one who asked for us to be invited.
That's correct.
Betsy Bella Deloitte. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. And then you can always reach our team at ctmovingонsupport@deloitte.com. I'll put it in the chat as well.
Keith Lavalette, DDS. And again, I just want to remind everyone, this is in phase 1. It's kind of a learning phase for everyone, DDS included. So we're trying to learn from phase 1 and hopefully fix everything for phase 2 and get the phase 2 providers who are interested in the moving on, make it easier for them. So it's nice to have 20, 25 providers, I think we have now, interested in the phase 1. We can learn a lot from that whole process, and hopefully phase 2 will go very smoothly. All right, let's see. Next, I am going to talk a little about the ARPA initiatives. Some of this may be a repeat a little bit, but again, with the transformation plan, there are 25 agencies. 12 of those agencies have said they wanted to start immediately. DDS regional review staff, all 3 regions were trained the week of 1/9. All the providers who were interested were sent a template if they filled out the interest survey in phase 1. Deloitte will be reaching out to all the agencies that were uncertain. They put the interest survey in, but they're uncertain if they're going to move forward. So they're going to talk to them about hopefully what else they may need to participate in the moving on phase 1. As Betsy had said, most of the applications were in the North and South. Most agencies did choose 1 or 2 programs within their agency. One of the agencies has chosen to transform their entire agency. And again, the first phase is a learning phase. Julia talked about the stakeholder forum, so I'll leave that out. In the, I think it was the advisory committee, Peter talked about the rent subsidy and that DDS is changing the policy. Currently, the calculations are done on a 45% of the income, and DDS is looking to change it to 30% to offset some of the concerns with the individual's money. The DDS Engagement Committee will be putting out a newsletter. It's targeted to DDS staff and to providers and individuals and families. And they're debating whether, I believe they're looking at a quarterly a newsletter going out. Deloitte is doing an analysis of 5 other states. We have picked Maine, Pennsylvania, Arkansas, Missouri, and Delaware. Basically, we found Connecticut is one of the leaders in the country, and but these other states have things that they are doing well, and we're looking at the pieces of the best practices from these different states. And we should have that completed by the end of January, I believe. There's another round of technology grants that are going out. Last week or the week before that, they went out to the families and residential providers. And Beth, I'm not sure, one's going out to day providers too. I don't know if you saw that yet. So if it's not out yet, it should be out soon. DDS has put AT in the respite centers to help people with IDD get acclimated to using technology. DDS has also started a project called AT and Me. It's where the self-advocates will be doing peer-to-peer training. Those participating would get a backpack with various items of assistive technology. DDS is also working on funding providers and DDS staff on AT certification training. Rewarding work contract for self-hires was executed on December 1st. A revised website should be up and running by March 1st. An NOO will be coming out soon to expand supportive housing that is not project-based. And with critical incidents, PulseLight is working to provide more data and matching Medicare claims to DDS critical incident reports. So that's what the different ARPA initiatives are doing at this point. Does anybody have any questions on those? Jennifer?
Could you clarify for me the deadline for the use of the ARPA funds for the AT initiatives? Is it this fiscal June 30th? The reason I asked that question, again, this is Jennifer from UCP. I asked that question because many of the providers and the individuals haven't even finalized their plans. So it seems like the technology, the timing of the giving out of the technology, while it's great, it comes before the plans are implemented. And I'm concerned that, like a lot of times what happens with technology is that it doesn't end up meeting the needs of the individual and sits in a closet. And the train the trainer peer-to-peer is great, but the technology, the timing of the technology, if it could be later in the fiscal year or in alignment with the plan, would seem to me to be a better option. But I understand the ARPA funds are only available for so long. So
I believe that the NOO for the technology it's a rolling grant. So it's basically going on from now until the end of the year.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Sean, I'm just double checking. I saw you come on. Is that I'm correct in that point, correct? You're on mute.
Sean Bannon, DDS. Yeah, I believe that the assistive tech, I know there's a number of different initiatives. Keith mentioned a few. So I believe those will be crossing, the fiscal year and you'd be able to use during the ARPA period versus just this fiscal year. But in terms of exact programs, I don't know the deadlines off the top of my head.
Thank you, Sean. Anybody else have any questions? All right. For other concerns and topics, I just have one. I know Beth has mentioned in the past that she would like a discussion more on the GSE programs, and I am looking into that. I just for future meetings. I'm just wondering if anybody else has any thoughts on items for future meetings. Anything stick out? There we go. Amber, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Amber Carter, DDS, Employment and Day Services. I just want to, do we have any other anticipated presenters or guests that might be coming? And is there anything in particular as, part of this committee you'd like, for us to do to support or to help and, furthering the conversation? I also just want to, just applaud both you and Catherine for chairing this this committee, as there's a lot of information, a lot of work to do, and sometimes just looking at that in general can be a daunting undertaking. But just just to also give you both kudos on that as well.
Thank you, Amber. We have kind of a ongoing with both Deloitte and McDowell Communications. They're our communications consultant. We have had a number of other presenters throughout, including members of this committee, talk about the different aspects of employment that are out there. But again, having other presenters, if you know of people that would be interested in presenting for something to this group, I think would be a great thing.
Certainly,
Catherine?
this is oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Amber, finish up.
Oh, sorry, Catherine, I'll make it quick. Sorry, I apologize. I think one of the other, maybe we can start, because employment is a topic of discussion, maybe we can look to see if we can get some of our, some of the employers out there who are posting these signs that they have, looking for people to work. They're got signs plastered all over the place. And then part of what I'm hearing from individuals and families is that our folks, when they apply, they're not getting the phone calls, they're not getting the interviews, they're not, what have you. And maybe part of the discussion is just having them come and present on what their needs are, but sharing with them some of the perks of having, looking at this underutilized talent pool, that, because it's amazing to me when you go into these retail stores. I find myself pushing carts, and I find myself picking stuff up off the ground and trying to make sure, because the department stores, they look like, a hot mess on a Black Friday. So it's just amazing that there's so many resources and we have so many individuals that are looking for employment. So maybe it's just helping some of these employers realize it doesn't have to be your standard, shopping and places like that, but some of these other restaurants and other places that some of our individuals are, really looking to tap into. So just thought maybe we, even small businesses, invite them to come and speak as well.
That would be great. Thank you. Catherine?
This is Catherine Dupree, co-chair. I had a couple of ideas. I don't know if it's possible to hear from any of the 25 providers as they undertake this new initiative, just as a learning opportunity for our committee as well, or to see some of their proposals, even if you don't want to do that without identifying people, but so that we have a sense of how this is being approached across the state. And then I don't know if Deloitte is planning to come back and talk to us about the best practices they've seen related to employment and day supports from the 5 other states.
Yes, I believe that's, they will. Julia, do you have, or Betsy? They're looking to finalize it. Go ahead, Betsy.
Oh, sorry. This is Betsy Bella from Deloitte. Once the report is finalized, we'll make sure everyone on this committee receives a copy. And we can certainly, if DDS and the committee would like us to, absolutely happy to come back and discuss anything in the findings.
Thank you.
Keith Lavalette, DDS. Beth?
Thank you. Beth Fisher, CUNY Employment Opportunities. You know, I guess when thinking about best practices in employment, I'm also wondering if, how much we've looked internally within Connecticut at other state agencies like DEMIS. They've got a pretty sophisticated employment system. It's evidence-based. If we wanted to hear more about that, I would suggest that we invite Ellen Econs in from DDS. She also works with BRS, so she could speak to, all of what DEMIS does, customized employment, and BRS as well.
Keith Lavalette, DDS. Actually, that's a great idea, Beth. I had Ellen's contact information at one time. I'm not sure I still do, but
Yeah, I could forward you her contact information if you'd like me to.
That would be great.
I'll do that.
This is Catherine Dupree. Beth, for the minutes, how do I spell Ellen's last name?
ECONS.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Keith Lavalette, DDS. Jennifer?
Yes, along the same lines, Ellen and I both participate in the Connecticut APSI group, and APSI may be a good resource for presenting to this group as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, topics? Jennifer, your hand's raised. Or you have another one, or? Okay.
Nope, all set. Sorry.
All right. Seeing none, our next meeting is February 6th at 4 p.m. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Jennifer
Beth
Keatley,
Fisher,
UCP, motion to adjourn.
Jennifer and
Beth
Beth?
Fisher, second.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Thank you.